Hey, happy Good Friday, all the Christians around the world. Uh, 2023, so 2023 years ago, Jesus was crucified today. And it's just, the iconic aspect of that, of him on the cross, suffering like that. I don't understand why you need to see that day in and day out every day, because I get it. The funny thing about that is, when I go to church, I was at church last night singing with the choir. I cannot take my eyes off that huge crucifix. Somebody did an amazing job of recreating Jesus on the cross there, because it's astonishing. All the way from, you know, the body, when it's depleted of nutrition, gets frail and very skinny, and your ribs are sticking out, his ribs are sticking out, and as a species excuse me, doing that to another human being is just, I hope we've outgrown that. But I don't know that we have. All the hatred that I see in politics, it's incredible. How do you hate people you don't even know? Yeah. January 6th, all those guys saying, hang Mike Pence. Are you kidding? Anyway, it's a day where I shouldn't be getting into that frame of mind. And I understand it. The whole concept of Jesus dying for the human race doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Because I haven't seen any progress in the human race. Jesus saved the world supposedly. For what? For this? For all the hatred and the spewing of racism that has permeated and infiltrated our political soul? That's what Jesus died for? So that we can all hate each other? There's a lot of talk about love and what it means in the spiritual sense and in the religious sense. I can't stand that word. I hate the word love, because it's too easy to interpret in so many different ways. And it's typically a lie. It's been a lie in my life, put it that way, okay? So I'm unlucky enough to thought that I had known love, but I really didn't know what it was. And maybe a lot of people don't, Love is one of those topics that you can go on forever talking about. There's different levels of it. There's different strengths. There's different There's different. There's so many different definitions, but there's so many different levels of intensity, or lack of intensity, even. People throw the word love around, as a manipulating kind of thing, and that's what happened to me, and it's not a pleasant memory. But the love in the sense of Jesus dying. And then, okay, I have a little problem with the resurrection too, and that only 14 people could actually verify it. Why wouldn't you want that to be generally known, that you've resurrected from the dead? That would make the whole message more powerful if it wasn't just 14 people. 12 apostles, and then Mary and Martha, I think, Mary's sister. They saw Jesus. Mary Magdalene saw. So it was Mary Magdalene and his mother Mary. So 14 people saw him after he rose from the dead. And the stone from the tomb was rolled away, and his body wasn't there anymore. Okay. And then, it's interesting that in Scripture they immediately address doubting Thomas, of course, right? Can you imagine doubting that someone came back from the dead? Seems pretty normal to me, and I doubt it. I would be a doubting Jerome in the biblical Scriptures. But, it's a hard thing to get your head around. It really is. It's something to celebrate. It's the idea It's like a fairy tale in a way. You know, if there was a guy over 2,000 years ago that died on the cross, and he did all these miracles, and it's interesting that the only record of those miracles is from his disciples. That's the only place where that's recognized or written about. They're the only. Maybe women weren't allowed to write back then. I don't know. Women suffered prejudice and bias and gender bias like incredibly down through the millennium, because they're smaller and diminutive, and really our species came from strength. Whatever you got, I'm going to take it from you because I'm stronger and bigger than you are. And women in stature typically are smaller than men and not as strong, muscular in their arms and their legs, but they have the uterine muscle, and that is the strongest muscle known to man. Is that muscle that pushes the baby out. Anyway, I'm sorry that what happened to Jesus happened to him. It happened to a lot of people, though. Crucifixions are pretty common in those days. And even as recently as the Armenian genocide by the Turks in 1917, 18, 1919, 1920, that era. And I have a really good Jewish friend, and I asked him about it. And I said, how can we possibly understand? There's a picture online of a crucifixion of a bunch of women, Armenian women, by the Turks, and this picture is impossible to fake what was on this picture. And I haven't seen it since. I only saw it once. It's one of those pictures that you see and it's gone forever, because people really don't want to see that, but in the interest of free speech and the freedom of the press, it was online. I think it was on Yahoo, pretty sure. When I saw it, I just was stunned. It's like these Armenian women, with beautiful hair and stuff. They're being crucified, and some of them were already dead. You can see it because they were just hanging there. And then it's indescribable. I have a hard time. And I asked my friend Bruce about it, Jewish, and he knows a lot about history and stuff. And he said, yeah, well, they do that because they don't consider them human. The Turks don't consider the Armenians human, just like we didn't consider Africans human back in the days of slavery. Frickin' awful. Crucifixion. How can you do that to another human being? I understand wars and killing in wars more than I understand that. Crucifixion. It's just, how do you get joy and pleasure out of the level of suffering, pain, physical pain that you can cause somebody else, and figuring out new and more improved ways of doing that? So the reason I'm talking about crucifixion today is because this is the day 2023 years ago that Jesus was crucified, and it begs people wonder why Jesus hasn't come back. He was supposed to. Jesus is coming again. Maybe Jesus is waiting for us to make a certain amount of progress in our relations. Well, Donald Trump took that progress, whatever we've made, he set that back at least a couple of decades, at least maybe 3 or 4 decades. All this, when he talked about our problem being the Mexican immigrants, and all these racists came out of the closet, man, and they all got on board with him. Said, throw them on down, build a wall, What kind of rhetoric is that? Is this make you feel good? Makes you feel good to hate? I've experienced hatred recently on a personal level and contempt. It does not make me feel good. It doesn't. It's just the opposite. It makes me. It's so depressing, and it's what in the hell is going on here? And why can't I just drop it? I wish I could. It's not possible. Because your brain is going to go where it wants to. It's your brain. Excuse me. Your brain and your thought process. You don't always have control over that. especially if things are slow. They're a little bit slow, but it's a really difficult thing. I'm 72 years old, and I don't get it. I do not get it. The whole hate contempt thing. It must make people feel good, but it makes me feel horrible. When I experience hatred and contempt, that makes me feel crummy. And and it was inflicted on me too. It's like awful, really bad. Anyway, so hatred of an entire race of people. So the Turks claim that the Armenians were not human beings. Well, they are human beings. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out. You just look at them, interact with them, and they're human beings. What did the Armenians do to deserve that kind of punishment or that kind of torture on a scale that was genocidal? So I don't think Jesus is coming back as long as we're participating, as long as we're perpetrating those kinds of crimes and that kind of hatred and contempt. That's really on a massive scale and anonymous. The Germans couldn't possibly have known the millions of Jews that they murdered, and from 37 to 45 over an 8-year period. They didn't know those people. They just knew they were Jewish. Oh, there was a mistake, and a few of them aren't Jews. Well, that's too bad. Throw them in the gas chambers anyway. What is it? It's an evil thing. It's a very evil, nefarious, really bad thing. And I thought that when I was in college, that by the time I got to this age, those things would all be behind us. I was way too optimistic with that outlook, But I hope that maybe you have some epiphanal kind of thing happen today, tomorrow, and Sunday. And, a good question I asked my sister. She's a fundamentalist Catholic. And you got to be careful what you say or like the statements that you make, because she's like a gun ready to go off. As soon as she doesn't like something you say about religion or the Catholic Church, man, she just explodes. And it's not, I don't want that. But I did ask her where God was. Where was Jesus between today when he was crucified and on Sunday when he was resurrected? Where was he? He's still alive. He's not alive physically or in this world, but that would change when he comes out of the grave on Sunday. But between when he passes away today at 3 o'clock and Sunday morning, where is he? Does he go back to heaven? Is he hanging out with his Father? I don't think so. That happens in the ascension. So, is he in purgatory? Is he in limbo? Is he experiencing what a human being experiences after they die? Yes. That changes in his resurrection. No ordinary human beings have risen from the dead since then. There'd be a good record of it. And I, again, go back to the fact that only 14 people. Why wouldn't you just walk around and, go shake hands? Hey, Pontius Pilate, you see these holes in my hand? Let's shake on it, Hey, thanks, Pontius. Then you go back into the synagogues. Imagine all the all the rabbis looking at them. I thought we got rid of this guy, and here he is, really proving beyond any doubt, no doubt, because he's showing himself to thousands of people after he died. That would have really been the deal seal right there. Anyway, I hope you have a blessed Easter. I hope you have some kind of epiphanal experience, which is like in life, in my 72 years, those experiences I never forget. And it could be just emotional. It doesn't have to be religious. It could be love, if you fell in love with somebody. It'd be interesting to know each person's take on love, And it'd be an interesting thing to survey in that, have you ever been in love? And that's really the number one question. Have you ever been in love with another person? That's a tough one, man. Especially after you broke up with that person and you realize, I don't know. Anyway, a blessed Easter for all of you, I hope. and including non-Christians, including all denominations. You know, my Jewish friend told me when he was a boy, he was like 5 or 6 years old, he was in a Christian white neighborhood, and they all accused him of killing Jesus because he's Jewish. Where does that come from? Oh, the parents, I would think. I would think that would come from the, you're not going to be in that age group and really know or care about who killed somebody over 2,000 years ago. Why would you care? Like, it never came out. When I was in Catholic grade schools, Catholic grade school, that was grades 1 through 8, they never talked about the Jews killing Jesus. They just talked about Pontius Pilate and, but it was the Jewish rabbis had a lot of power then, and Jesus was a threat to their power. And there's nothing more important to a man, a human being, a male human being, than power. Although I can say for me, it doesn't mean anything, and I don't necessarily respect anybody that thinks they have power. Donald Trump is finding out now he doesn't rule over our legal system, and he's got 34 felony counts to defend against in court. This will be interesting. If he wins, if he comes out completely clean, he could win in 2024. I think. I don't know. I think everybody's had a chance over the last 4 years, January 6th. Everybody's had a chance to see what he's all about. So we'll see. And a blessed Good Friday and Easter to all of you. Peace.